Dolphins are some of the smartest mammals out there. But that doesn't mean they're prone to the demons that are cookie-cutter sharks. But cookie-cutter sharks? Shouldn't their name mean they're adorable? Sorry, nope, our story doesn't even end there. You've yet to see the horrors of the vampire fish that can literally eat you from the inside out. If that doesn't interest you, how about 2 sets of jaws? Does that sound like something that would pop up in your nightmares? Then keep watching. But first, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button for immunity from the vampire fish. Lampreys. It's always the primitive creatures with little to no change over about 340 million years that are the deadliest. In fact, these eel-like fish have managed to survive through at least 4 major extinction events. So what makes them such a successful species? Well, it's simple. They're killers and they're extremely good at what they do. Take their disc-shaped suction cup mouth, for example. These are completely ringed with sharp and spiky teeth that make them look like an alien. However, when these fish latch onto something, it's impossible to get rid of them. They use their rough tongue to sort of sandpaper away into the fish's flesh, so it can suck up all the blood. One lamprey can literally kill about 40 pounds of fish every year, so the Great Lakes Fishery Commission had to control these bizarre creatures' eating habits. Otherwise, there would be no more tor, whitefish, perch, and sturgeon for us to eat. Currently, field biologists have set up barriers and traps in the stream to prevent the movement of these lampreys. They've even developed lampricides that only target lamprey larvae and are perfectly safe for other animals. Sarcastic fringehead. Sometimes nature comes up with freaky animals, and we give them an even freakier name. Take the sarcastic fringehead, for example. Right off the bat, you can tell they're not the prettiest looking animals. In fact, their large mouths are so big that it's enough to drive anyone away. Their mouth opens like an umbrella and clamps onto anyone that they don't like or want to eat like a bear trap. Their strategy is to hide in any nook that they can find and then aggressively charge at anything that comes near. This includes poor humans who just like to dive a bit. If it's another male rival that gets close, then they have a very uncomfortable fight. They don't put their mouths to use. Well, not in the traditional way. They open up their mouths and go at each other like they're kissing, when in fact they're just trying to prove to each other who's the bigger guy. Come on, guys, we can solve this like responsible little fish. Stonefish. Whether you've seen it or not, the ocean has a large plethora of venomous creatures, like jellyfish and such. But let's focus more on the stonefish as of now. First of all, if you're wondering what they look like, just know that you probably won't see them, thanks to their amazing camouflage skills. Their bodies are built so that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a coral and their flat bodies. This is what makes them amazing hunters. Usually they just stay still until a fish swims by and they swallow them up. But that's not all they do. These professional hide-and-seekers have about 13 spines on their back that release venom. The problem is that most deaths caused by them only happen when people step on them without knowing. According to survivors, it feels like being hit with a sledgehammer in every knuckle and bone.
On its back. Whoa!
Yikes, hard pass, but make sure to wear shoes before passing. Bobbit worm. Most worms have bland personalities, no color on their exterior, and just nothing that makes them worthy of remembering. However, the bobbit worms are a glittery rainbow party of horror. Other than their iridescent exterior, they have a very complex feeding technique. First of all, they have a pharynx that can turn inside out and has extremely strong and sharp teeth-like structures at the end. Even though they're a very interesting sight, they like to stay hidden 10 to 40 meters on the seafloor, with only their spiky pharynx poking out. Their bite is so strong and lean that it can cut any creature right down the middle, including humans. Usually, these worms like to stay in the warm ocean seafloors, but one of them was found in an aquarium in the UK. The entire tank had been emptied out of its coral, rock, and plants, because this monster of a being guzzles down everything. The traps the staff set were also ripped apart. Even the hooks with bait on them were completely digested. Lastly, if the bobbit worm ever comes close to a human, it can inflict a sting that causes permanent numbness in humans. Hagfish. Hagfishes are practically just ancient cousins of the eels, except they won the evolution game. It's physically impossible for a predator to chomp on these fishes because of all the amazing adaptations they've developed over time. First of all, they have the worst saggy-looking skin you'll ever come across, but this saggy skin actually helps them dodge any strong teeth that might bite them. Also, since the skin is unattached to their internal organs, it helps avoid any damage that could take place on their organs. Initially, scientists thought that their skin was puncture-resistant like leather. together. Turns out it's just too loose, that predators can barely bite on their inner organs. And that's not even the weirdest thing about them. Let's talk about their specialty dish, slime, which they serve to every predator that comes around. They don't sound like bad guys right now, but when they're scared, they can produce so much slime that it suffocates the predator. Imagine a fish preying these primitive fish for a quick bite, but they're the ones that end up dying. It's sort of a shocker. Besides, this gooey substance is literally 10 times stronger than nylon, despite being 100 times thinner than a human hair. Piranhas. There isn't one adventure movie that's complete without a good old piranha eating flesh scene. Not all piranhas are the same. It's the red-bellied ones that have the worst appetite. In the dry season, when there's no food and the water levels are super low, it can also lead to many attacks. Their jaws are very powerful, and even though they don't like getting feisty, they'll bite almost anything.
Oh my god.
See?
Yeah.
Bang, bang.
And when it comes to humans, they can easily nip off our hands and feet in no time. A lot of the time, people think that piranhas aren't a fatal threat to humans. The truth is, they have a very fast rate of gobbling up anything that has a little bit of flesh on it. There was a story back in 2015 about a 6-year-old child who fell into the water and was eaten by these demonic fish. Their razor-sharp teeth had stripped all the elfish off of her legs. So perhaps the media representations about these fish aren't that wrong after all. Mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp looks like a game show host with all its funky colored body parts and googly eyes. But the truth is, no one even dares to mess with this creature. The mantis shrimp can punch its prey to death. Not many sea creatures punch, but this one does, and its force is equivalent to that of a .22 caliber bullet. They have 2 raptorial appendages in the front of their body that are used to punch their prey. These tiny fists have a sort of spring-loaded system that can accelerate up to 50 miles per hour and then deliver a huge blow of 1,500 newtons. This much force helps them easily smash any crab and clam shells. Since they're very aggressive, these punches and blows are thrown at a rate so high that their prey can't get away. On top of that, they have sort of protruding eyes that give them excellent eyesight. So even if their prey was to run away, it wouldn't take long for them to notice. Overall, it's a very bad idea to mess with these creatures because their fast smashing motion produces so much heat, light, and sound that it can hurt human ears too. Blood-sucking fish candiru. The candiru is a fish that has been feared by humans since the 19th century, despite being an inch long only. The scary part is that it's actually parasitic and uses its spines to attach itself to the gills of larger fish. But what about human attacks? Well, a few anecdotes claim these fish swam up to people's genitals while they were urinating in the ocean. Some people claim that when the fish enters their genitals, the only way to get rid of them is through amputation. These fish mostly reside in the Amazon basin, so try not to swim too much in those areas because of their translucency and fast speed. It's quite hard to see them swim around. They use these qualities to find an opening into any fish. Sometimes they live in the gills for a long time. Other times they enter the body and roam around in there until they find enough blood to fill their bellies. Sometimes these feasts can cause the host body to hemorrhage and even die. The worst of this is that the attack victims barely make it out alive, since they drink up so much blood that it makes them too weak to fight. Wow, guess who's never going swimming again? Killer whales. Killer whales are apex predators, which means they're the most dangerous killers out there. Great white sharks are only shown as dangerous because of their size, and we'll watch movies. The killer whales, on the other hand, will do anything to protect and feed their young. The way they hunt is by gathering up in groups. They're already huge animals, and it's impossible to escape from them when they group together. And since they're very intelligent too, they can work together in complete harmony. They don't do the whole chasing thing. They simply strike their prey with their tails and then go after them. Sometimes they coordinate themselves to create waves strong enough to kick off their prey from floating ice in the water. When they're not planning their attacks so meticulously, they simply ambush poor little seals like this right off the coast. Intelligent dolphin hunting. Dolphins are super cute, especially bottlenose dolphins. But they're not just all looks, they're also quite smart. But their hunting strategy is what makes them scary. They use a technique that includes mud rings to catch some prey. One dolphin circles the ocean floor and sort of kicks the mud underneath them so that it causes an underwater dust storm. This chaos confuses the fish, and when they try to flee, the other dolphins lunge to eat them all up. This phenomenon was actually first documented in Florida, but then the same thing occurred in the Caribbean. This isn't even the end of this wacky feed technique. They also use a method called fish kicking. What they do is kick the fish with the front edge of their tail and launch it all the way to the other side of the water. Then they swim up to it quickly and gobble up the injured fish. Who knew these smarty pants were so cruel too? The power of knowledge really does bring you to the evil side. Moray eel. These aggressive creatures might make you think they're some sort of eels or sea snakes, but they're actually fish. However, they don't have scales or any fins. All around, they're pretty calm creatures. Sometimes they even let cleaner fish and shrimp clean up their mouths. And that's where the problem starts. Their teeth, which have long and sharp needle-like structures, can help them bite other fish, or even divers with a lot of force. On top of their remarkable teeth, they also have a second set of jaws. Yes, you heard that completely right. The oral jaws are the regular ones, and then they have a pair of pharyngeal jaws that emerge when they're trying to stuff down prey in their mouths. Basically, they can vomit up a new set of jaws just so they can have a hefty meal. And since they're such an attraction, many people try to hand feed them and end up getting bitten with twice the force of a regular jaw. This also happens because they have really bad eyesight, but a pretty good sense of smell, so they can easily confuse your hand with the food. Their extendable jaws were so efficient that researchers couldn't really see them at first, but when they examined a slowed-down version of the footage and took some imaging recordings, they realized what these aliens were actually hiding inside their mouths. Cookie cutter shark. The name cookie cutter shark probably makes you think of a sweet, beady-eyed little creature, but the reality is they get their baker reputation from their teeth. They have a particular set of pearly whites that lets them gouge out cookie-shaped chunks of flesh. Not so sweet after all. Their ice cream scoop jaws are used to bite others. There are only about 3 species of these cookie cutter sharks. All 3 of them have managed to attack multiple apex predators. Take whales, dolphins, and even orcas as an example. Yup, it's this fish that dolphins are deathly afraid of. Sometimes they even go behind white sharks to pluck out a chunk of their body. These sharks never grow more than 18 to 20 inches and live in the deep waters away from the flashy crowd. Scientists don't know much about them because they live way down below. However, their distinct bite marks were seen on many species. That's why some scientists knew there was something fishy going on.